Hello viewers, I am grateful to God for the gift of life. Indeed, I am grateful once again to the leadership of ACK St. Joseph of Arimathea for giving me yet another opportunity to share with you as a way of creating awareness on caregiving. I will be focusing on a caregiver's journey. While it is easy to render a service for a reward, it takes ultimate sacrifice to care for a person living with special needs. At one time or the other, we find ourselves exercising the role of a caregiver. Nonetheless, nobody comes prepared to take up the role of a caregiver. World over, caregiving has become one of the most significant life changes of the 21st century, and especially in the long-term caregiving. Whether a person being supported or cared for is living with you, near you or far from you, caregiving has its rewards, but it is also filled with challenges and tough decisions to make. Who therefore is a caregiver? He or she is a close member of the family who helps relatives suffering from health challenges such as impairments related to advancing age or the elderly, as well as individuals with chronic illnesses, developmental, intellectual, and physical challenges in order for them to cope with daily activities. This type of a caregiver is also called a primary caregiver. Examples of primary caregivers are parents, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties, and grandparents. It is important to note that the role of a caregiver is not fixed. Rather, it is determined by the needs of the person being supported. In this, some people being supported may be totally dependent on the caregiver, while others are partially dependent on the caregiver. Inasmuch as caregiving is a major responsibility to undertake and nobody plans for it, it shouldn't overtake a caregiver's life. However, there are situations whereby a caregiver is affected in that his health and well-being are at risk. The caregiver goes through physical, emotional, and psychological stress. These challenges may be in different forms, including burnout or fatigue. This is whereby a caregiver experiences feelings of getting tired or being immobilized as a result of intense or round-the-clock caregiving. The caregiver does not have time for self. Risk of suffering burnout is also heightened in the times of stress. Notable, a caregiver may get worried at a time like now of COVID-19 pandemic, which is bringing concerns of infections, care, etc. Once burnout strikes, one may experience the following: hopelessness, overwhelming anxiety, sleep problems, and difficulty coping with everyday tasks. Caregiver may also experience compassion fatigue. This is emotional and physical burden which comes as a result of caring for others in distress. The caregiver gets too preoccupied with the stress of the needy person as if they were their own, which hurts them and causes them secondary traumatic stress. Viewers, through my interactions with some caregivers, I have picked expressions such as, "Oh, I live in confinement," my life literally stopped. I am too engrossed in caring that I stopped living. I eat, breathe, and sleep attending to others. My whole world is consumed by this. It is like I'm living two lives. The person's life is in my hands. Another one said, I am losing myself for caring for everyone else. Viewers, are these expressions familiar? Can you relate with some of them as a caregiver, or have you interacted with them? If you agree, then these are manifestations of compassion fatigue. To help us identify with them further, here are some of the signs and symptoms of compassion fatigue. Feeling irritated and frustrated most of the time. Feeling absolutely worthless and sometimes terribly sad. Bursting into tears for no reason. Isolating self from others. Finally, feeling that nothing makes sense in life. Stress, anxiety, and depression may also set in as a result of caregiving. Stress levels increase as a result of unpleasant experiences with loved ones. For example, whereby a caregiver is left alone with the responsibility of taking care of the person with special needs. Another one is often getting worried with the thoughts of, am I giving my best? What do I do now? What should I do in case I run out of finances? Depression may set in with the following signs, such as shame, guilt, irritation, feeling of being trapped with no escape, desperation, and losing control of life. Stigma is another challenge that a caregiver may experience. This is a fear of coming out to speak about challenges being faced due to being labeled by the community with the challenges of a loved one. Cultural beliefs may also hinder the community from understanding challenges, thus causing stigma. Conflicts is yet another challenge, whereby relationships between spouses, children, and relatives of the caregiver may get strained, leading to detachments. Common sources of conflicts are, for example, some immediate family members, like spouses and children, may feel neglected while all the attention shifts to the person with special needs. Another source of conflict is sabotage, lack of forgiveness, inability to accommodate one another, and stress among family members, causing problems with thought, judgment, and mood. Lack of support is yet another challenge. Some of you may be familiar with it. This happens when the caregiver lacks physical, moral, and material help from other family members. This leaves the caregiver to meet all the needs of the person being supported. It can at times be overwhelming. Career or work may deteriorate. This is whereby commitment to work or employment by a caregiver declines or suffers setbacks as a caregiver's time is taken away in caregiving. Finally, financial constraints is yet another challenge that our caregiver experiences. For example, our finances may get depleted due to purchasing of caregivers' materials, food, medication, and at times provision of professional care and fulfillment of other needs. This could lead to other financial responsibilities of caregiver suffering irreparably. Having looked at some of the challenges, I would like to share with you some tips for coping with these challenges. First and foremost, I will start by sharing about empowerment or delegating. As a caregiver, don't be afraid to ask for help where necessary. When it is convenient, give yourself permission to be helped. Let someone look after your loved one. It is important to share responsibilities because as you do that, you are also equipping close family members with skills of caring for this person should you be away. Another way of coping with these challenges is self-care. Self-care, viewers, is not respite or caring or hiring someone to do your stuff. Rather, it is treating yourself for your own company. Self-care is not selfish. Rather, it is essential for one's health and mental wellness. And then how can we observe self-care? One can do this by creating more time for self, schedule some time for rest and sleep, schedule some time for relaxation, do something that you have not done in a long time and you've been wanting to do, etc. Embracing exercise and healthy eating is also another way of observing self-care. It's good to remember that in the course of caregiving, there are two things that suffer. This is physical fitness and nutrition. A caregiver finds themselves or him or herself offering care around the clock and not finding time to eat at all. Or if he or she does that, her need to eat comes last. It is important, therefore, to embrace physical fitness and eating right. One can eat right by regularly taking well-balanced meals and staying hydrated, because this boosts mood, health, and vitality. In stressful times, viewers, stress rests on one's shoulders. No wonder one feels like they are carrying a load on their shoulders. Exercises are important to relieve this form of stress. It boosts mood as well and overall outlook of life. Some exercises, including taking a walk, say in the neighborhood, having a jog, or simple homemade stretches and routines come in handy in such a situation. Benefits of self-care are prioritizing self-care brings feelings of self-worth and confidence. Self-care also increases productivity in that the breaks taken helps in re-energizing self. As you embrace self-care at this time, it is also important to embrace health guidelines, because by doing that, you're also taking care of yourself and your loved one. I like Eleanor's Brown quote, whereby she says that rest and self-care are so important. When you take time to replenish your spirit, it allows you to serve others from the overflow. You cannot serve others from an empty vessel. My question to you, caregiver, is, what is in your vessel? Are you running on empty? Planning and time management is another tip for coping with challenges in the course of caregiving. This is whereby a caregiver can carefully schedule time for many things that he or she has to do in the course of caring. Managing time is a helpful skill that a caregiver can learn by doing the following: planning ahead for everyday activities, having a to-do list, and prioritizing activities in order of importance. It also comes with benefits such as there is less stress, it minimizes burnout and fatigue, and a caregiver also has quality time for self and others. Another tip is accepting the responsibility of caregiving as a lifestyle change. This is especially important when a caregiver feels like quitting or not continuing with caregiving. Acceptance is a skill that can be developed and learned gradually. It is also a trait of an emotionally resilient caregiver. And how do you develop acceptance? Embrace optimism. Identify what is happening or what you are dealing with. Empathize with the person in need as much as possible. Remember, if the person in need was given a chance, he would be independent. It was not his choice. You could also let love pick you up. In Matthew chapter 25, verse 35 to 36, Jesus laid down his life for us. We should also be ready and available to lay down our comfort for others, especially the vulnerable. He taught us the evidence of love is found in seeing a need in others, then doing all what we can do to satisfy that need. Support is another tip that I can share for coping with challenges during caregiving. Identification of support groups and peer support can do a caregiver quite an immeasurable change. There are a number of support groups which offer physical, social support to caregivers and individuals living with special needs, like there's ADOC, Alzheimer's and Dementia Association of Kenya. There's also KAWE, Kenya Association of Women Living with Epilepsy, Autism Support Center, Persons Living with Disabilities, and many others. And what happens in these forums, caregivers? Caregivers are presented with an opportunity to share experiences and pour out their feelings. This, they benefit by getting some debriefing sessions whereby they can get good ways of coping with challenges or getting to experience what others did faced with a similar challenge. It is important also to stay connected with others, especially family, friends, church, and community. Even at a times like now, when we have COVID-19 pandemic, social distancing does not mean total isolation. While observing guidelines, caregiver, you can also reach out as a way of sharing and avoiding isolation. Here at ACK St. Joseph of Arimathea, we are committed to connecting with people living with special needs and caregivers. During their visits, as they pray and encourage the person living with special needs, a caregiver also benefits in the process. Finally, a caregiver can also benefit from counseling. If need be, it is important to seek therapy from a counselor. From the interactions with the counselor, you will overcome any emotional challenges and you'll be helped with healthy ways of coping with the crisis or caring for others. There are positive outcomes of caregiving. For example, some caregivers feel that they are passing on a tradition of care to their children. Children learn through observation. Therefore, when parents attend to the people living with special needs, the children watch, and they are able to do that if need arises. In conclusion, caregiving can be an unwanted, unnoticed, unaccepted, and an unspoken undertaking. Sometimes caregivers journey alone and are left with a number of challenges. However, as a caregiver, you need to embrace care to sustain you. And as you sustain or observe care, take a moment and reflect on your caregiving story. Love the person in need, but love yourself too. Support them, but support yourself too. Help them, but allow yourself to be helped. Take care of yourself. Take super care of yourself. Remember that as a caregiver, you may not change the entire world, but when you care for a loved one in need, you put a memorable smile in their hearts. Indeed, you not only add days to their lives, but you add life to their days. You are literally changing their world and yours too.